Hey everybody, and welcome to Truck King. So today, other than the fact that I'm out here freezing, we have an interesting matchup for you right here. #1 compact SUV sold in Canada, the Toyota RAV4, and bringing up the rear.
Well, I brought along the Natural Challenger, which is the #2 best-selling compact SUV in Canada, the Honda CR-V, and today they're both outfitted with the hybrid powertrain. So we're going to go for a drive in the snow, talk about the all-wheel drive, and then talk about the fuel efficiency, Dad. So yeah, make sure you stay tuned.
Let's get her going.
Let's start by looking at the powertrains, and they are quite similar. In the Honda CR-V, you get a 2-liter 4-cylinder mated to the hybrid setup. Total system output, 204 horsepower. Over here in the Toyota, a slightly larger engine, 2.5-liter 4-cylinder, and slightly more power, 219 horsepower total system output. And both of these use a CVT to get that power to the ground, and they both have all-wheel drive. Now let's talk about the actual vehicles we have here today, and we'll start with this RAV4, and you can't ignore this because of the sticker package. This RAV4 right here is the 11 millionth vehicle built by Toyota here in Canada at Toyota Motor Manufacturing Canada. That's in Cambridge and Woodstock, Ontario. And yes, you can tell they're very proud of it because they really stickered up this car to let everyone know that this is the 11 millionth. Now, in terms of trim level, this is a Woodland Edition RAV4, and with Woodland you're getting some of the more rugged features, so thicker rubber floor mats, a thicker rubber tray back there in the bed, LED fog lamps, also these 18-inch bronze wheels, so some styling stuff and then some functional stuff. And Woodland is sort of a mid-level RAV4. This isn't really at the top of the trim level, and as you see this vehicle here today, it has an MSRP of about $44,000 here in Canada. And then we get over here to our CR-V, and this is the CR-V Touring Hybrid. So yes, this is a top trim example of the CR-V. It gets a couple unique styling elements because it is the Touring, so they do try to sort of separate them by trim based on the way it looks. I do think the Honda just has more of that sort of sleek look than the Toyota. They've really chopped that roofline down, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on the styling. Finally, let me spit out the price. Over here with our CR-V, you're talking about around $52,000 Canadian. So yes, the CR-V is more, and it will also be interesting to compare the features inside and see, does it have that much more for the money? Let's take a look inside now.
Okay, and now for a fan favorite, starting with the RAV4, does Steve fit?
Let's take a look at this back seat. I like to start first with the baby seat situation. So we do have a lower latch here on the driver's side and passenger side, and then 3 top tethers along the back. And now I will climb in. So this is listed as 37.8 inches of rear seat legroom, and it's enough. This seat was set up for me, so it's a comfortable driving position for a larger person too. And I do have enough knee room here. My knees are a little bit tall, but it's really not that bad. And then when it comes to headroom, and I stand at 6'2", I'm close, and luckily the roof kind of raises up back here, but it's more than enough to keep me from smacking my head up there. So yes, this is a very important aspect to these vehicles, is having a decent sized second row, and this one definitely does. Now let's go look at the cargo space. So back here we're talking about 37.5 cubic feet of cargo space. You can see your special Woodland Edition rubber floor mat down here, a lot thicker. And I also like that it goes all the way up onto the backs of the second row. So if you were to fold it flat, you're going to get the protection from that. You're also getting some D-rings down in the corners to tie stuff in with. And then another Woodland feature is right over here. That is a 100 watt two-prong plug. So not a lot of power available there, but yes, you do have some power available. And now let's go see how the CR-V compares. Now let's look here at the Honda. So first of all, lower latch, same thing on the driver and passenger side. Here you're only getting 2 top tethers along this bench though for the car seats. And so this is listed at 41 inches of legroom, and it is actually definitely a bit more. This seat's even further back than it was in the RAV4, and I still have enough space, and it just feels a little more spacious back here. So a good plus on the legroom. Sadly, the headroom does leave something to be desired. When I'm just sitting here normally, I'm basically rubbing right on the roof, and it's the same design where it kind of has this groove right here that goes up, so it gives you more headroom. But for me, yeah, it's still not quite enough. But overall, I would say this is more spacious, and if you're not super tall, you're going to feel like you have a bit more room back here. Now let's go look at the cargo. So on paper, the CR-V has more legroom, and it does feel like it, but also on paper, it has less cargo space. This is just over 36 cubic feet. And yeah, just based on sort of reaching in and feeling that seat back, there's definitely a little bit less here. So if you prioritize the cargo, you might want to go for the RAV4. Still, you're getting a nice big thick floor mat here too, even though it's not a special edition. A couple of tie downs down there in the floor, and then 2 little bins back here on either side for a little bit of extra storage. Still, overall, yeah, CR-V, better back seat than the RAV4, but slightly less storage in the back. And now, folks, we're going driving. We're starting off with some all-wheel drive testing. It's been really cold here the last 2 days, and we got a big dump of snow. It's around -7 degrees Celsius right now, so the road is frozen solid beneath us. And it's a good chance to test, you know, what does the all-wheel drive system really do, Dad, on a snowy day? So first of all, we're going to go in normal mode. Dad's going to put his foot to the floor, and we'll just see how it reacts when it loses traction. And then we'll come back and we'll put it into trail mode, because this RAV4 doesn't have snow mode, because it's the Woodland edition. So we'll put it in trail and we'll try it again and feel the difference. And yeah, I'm ready when you are.
I'm ready. Here we go. Ready, Liam? Okay.
And we do have winter tires on.
Well, it took off pretty good. Traction control kicked in.
Yeah, you felt the tire start to spin, power immediately cut, and then it sort of rolled it back on, right? But yeah, that was basically what you'd expect, and that's what you want traction control to do. And then the other thing we have to always mention with the Toyota all-wheel drive system and the hybrids is that the way this works is that the rear axle has the electric motor on it, so it gets the electrified power. There's no drive shaft, so the engine's not connected to that rear axle. So, you know, it's all computer tuning, making it all work together correctly. And yeah, it definitely worked well.
Well, probably the best part about this is that it started to pull left, but then when the traction control kicked in, it corrected that problem.
All right, now we try it again, except for now we go into trail mode.
I already put it in trail mode, so now you just turned it off.
Okay.
And now it's back on. And you know how you know? Because there's little rocks and mountains on my dashboard.
Ooh,
now.
fancy.
Ooh, yeah, absolutely.
So now we're in trail mode. Let's see the difference then.
Okay, here we go. Oh, that was bad.
Oh, wow. It's actually, it let you spin way more.
Yeah, you know what it's doing? It's shut off traction control.
Yeah, so this is kind of, it's not, definitely not like a snow mode. The idea with trail mode, obviously, is if you're on a trail, loose surface, sand, mud, dirt, whatever, you want your wheels to spin and you don't want it to cut power. So that's the effect there, is it really just let this thing spin, which frankly felt a little sketchier, right? You had to do more driving to keep us straight down the road.
So yeah, exactly. So the traction control symbol comes on, but you can just tell.
Yeah, that it's definitely allowing way more wheel spin than in normal mode.
So hard to tell if there's anything more going on, but that seems to be the straight up shut off the traction control.
And now it is CR-V time. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're here in normal mode, snowy road. Let's feel it then. 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa. Yeah, so I'd say pretty similar. to what we felt in the Toyota. We slipped a little bit more off the line. I feel like the front wheels in this vehicle actually got a lot more power than in the Toyota, because my front end was just pulling sideways.
Well, that's what I noticed too. Is you're definitely getting more out of line.
And then the rear end sort of kicked in. So I'd say sort of off the line, the Toyota felt a little bit better. But then the exact same idea where the wheel started to spin, traction control kicked in, cut the power, brought it back in line, and then rolled the power back on. So pretty similar, but I would say that the Toyota was giving more power to its rear axle quicker than the Honda. Okay, now we line up again. Now we're in snow mode. So Honda does have specific snow mode. And yeah, same deal. Let's floor it and see what happens. In 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so again, the traction control is just definitely more aggressive. It cut the power quicker. I still felt the same thing though, where the front end was kind of pulling harder than the rear end was, but traction control came on a lot quicker. And now, folks, you've seen sort of our all-wheel drive test. Now we're out here just driving down the road, and we're going to talk about what these things feel like. So first of all, we're here in the RAV4. I think it needs to be mentioned, Dad, that you purchased a brand new RAV4 last year.
Yeah, I've had it about a year now.
So you bought just the gas model, so not the hybrid.
Correct.
But obviously you got a lot of time behind the wheel. So I guess why don't you give us your impressions, especially how the hybrid drives compared to the gas?
Well, the first thing I'm going to mention is fuel economy, simply because I'm looking at it here.
Sure.
In this hybrid model, it's telling me now that we're doing 7.9 liters per 100 kilometers as an average. And my average in the gas-only RAV4 has been 8.9 liters per 100. So if you want to know what your benefit is with the hybrid, well, we know that it's at least 1 liter per 100.
Right.
So as far as driving is concerned, we're looking at very different vehicles, in as much as this is CVT, mine is standard transmission. We have the electric, boost here in this vehicle, which delivers definitely a smoother acceleration. I mentioned to you earlier, that what I'm noticing is that with the straight gas motor, of course, if you put your foot into it, it downshifts. Well, CVTs don't downshift. So you can't really do a head-to-head comparison there. However, yeah, there's more power in this hybrid, and it probably does come on smoother. Does that matter in the long run? Not to me.
Fair enough. I think you already nailed it. Fuel economy, that's going to be your biggest difference, and that's probably what's going to attract people to the hybrid. So yeah, the fact that the drive is not that different is good news, and then the fact that it's getting better fuel economy is also a positive. Past
those 2 points, Stephen, these are just good all-around vehicles, and I just don't mean the RAV, but this series, these small SUVs, right? And of course that is proven simply because of their popularity. Yep. Number one selling vehicle in Canada, and despite the fact that we're always talking about how much trucks, how many trucks we buy, this is more so. So what I'm feeling here today is pretty much the same as in the RAV that I have. Really what it's going to come down to, I think, for a lot of people, is what the interior appointments are. Sure. Because these are really all family vehicles.
Right.
So as you're always pointing out, because you're in your baby years, where do the baby seats go? Where do you store all the bad McDonald's toys? How easy it is to clean the seats.
Sure, and how big the back seat is, right? In the cargo area, because you're bringing along a lot of stuff.
Exactly. So that seems to me to be more familiar, or should say similar, between this and the CR-V. So the differences seem to be kind of subtle.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think you nailed it when you said, these are some of the most popular vehicles in Canada. And when you're building a vehicle like that, you have to make it appeal to the masses, and the way to do that is by making it easy to drive. That's a term we throw out there sometimes, but these vehicles, that they embody that. You don't want anything to be complicated, anything to feel sort of out of place, anything for a driver, frankly, to have to learn. You want this thing to be dead simple and easy, and yeah, I feel like both of them really are. Although I will say I do prefer the snow mode that we have over in the Honda, and I think if you get this Woodland edition and you just get the trail mode, you might be a little more confused about what your modes are doing for you. But
I wonder how different the trail is from the snow. I mean, it's I've been trying to figure that out just by feeling it, and I think that this is more just a question of labeling it trail because it's the Woodland edition.
Yeah.
I think it's more marketing speak than anything else, really.
Right, but anyways, I guess my point there was just to say, yeah, that's maybe a little confusing to people, and why don't you get a snow mode here? But if you go for the Woodland, you probably specifically, sought this model out because you wanted the more, rugged appointments and those big, thick rubber floor mats.
However, the other thing here is really with both of these models is all-wheel drive. And frankly, if you live in any kind of a four-season climate, four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, okay, we'll argue about that later. All-wheel drive is important, and really from a point of view of safety, but also, peace of mind. Because between the all-wheel drive and the traction controls and the other nannies that you have here, you can really make some really dumbass mistakes, and the machine is going to save your butt.
100%. 100%, and that's exactly what we felt. Like what we did earlier, no, you shouldn't floor it on a snowy road. That's not a good idea. But the fact that we're able to do that, and then the cars are able to sort out how to go straight down the road, is it's pretty amazing. And again, I would give the edge on that test over here to the RAV, just in terms of how much the Honda pulled to the side. But they're both very similar in terms of they will save you, and even if you don't know what you're doing in the snow, the technology goes a long way to helping you.
Now, the one other thing that I got to point out, and this is really from a year's worth of driving my own RAV, is I just want to briefly talk about the infotainment system. So, specifically the nav portion of that system. I'll try to be as kind as I can. It sucks. It's difficult to use. The language recognition that they swear is so good. My RAV spends a lot of time going, I can't understand you. I can't understand you. And I know that other Google-based systems and other vehicles we test are so good today. I do not understand why Toyota continues to want to use their own software when it's obviously inferior.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and I would point out one other thing which has driven me crazy about this system since the beginning. The vast majority of infotainment systems have a home screen which allows you to view multiple different bits of information at once. You can have a little map over here, your music over here. Toyota doesn't do that. You have to pick one screen at a time. You can just look at the map or just look at your music. And I think that's such a miss. It's such an obvious thing that everybody does. And for some reason with this system, they don't do it. So I will agree with you there that the infotainment system here is not all that intuitive and not that easy, where it should be a lot simpler.
Agreed.
And that's good on the RAV, Dad. Let's go jump into CRV and see how it compares.
Fair enough.
All right, Dad, now here we are in the CRV. And I'll say the first thing I noticed is we're obviously a couple big fellas in a small vehicle. Well, the CRV feels a little bit roomier. I just feel like I'm not rubbing up against you quite as much. I feel like I have a little bit more legroom, a little bit more headroom. So yeah, in the back seat, I already pointed out the CRV is definitely bigger, but in the front seat, I would say it's just a little more spacious as well, right?
In general, this vehicle has more of a jelly bean shape.
Sure.
It's kind of bowing out at the sides, and you can certainly see it when you stand behind it. So yeah, your perception is actually could be measured in inches. There's probably not a lot, but you know what? Even if it's 2 inches, that too, you make that, you feel that.
Right. So yeah, overall space, and then seat comfort. And granted, and we're going to have to talk about this difference, this is a top trim, so we do have the leather bucket seats rather than just the cloth over there in the RAV4. But these seats are just a little more comfortable too, and supportive, and bolstered nicely. And so yeah, overall comfort, I'm feeling better about the Honda.
Absolutely. Now, we'll go on about the interior appointments, but let's also point out the fact that the redesign for this particular vehicle is, I believe now, 1, maybe 2 years old. Whereas in the RAV, it is much older than that. As a matter of fact, I believe the RAV is due for redesign for the next model year.
It's coming up right away, yeah.
So they're at different points in their life cycles.
Right.
And so, because when we've been talking about, the dash layout and some of the other interior appointments, and they definitely feel fresher than what you've got over in the RAV.
Yeah, I like these, the vents and the way they kind of put this grill right across. I also think that the Honda just comes across very simple. You still get your hard controls for your HVAC, just the one touchscreen up above. Very easy visually to see it all. And then the fact that it's a little wider, yeah, you just have more space here to deal with. The Toyota, everything feels a little narrower and jammed into a smaller space.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll agree with you there. And then in terms of features, again, yeah, we do have more here. We do have a moonroof above our heads. We do have wireless charging for the phone. So yeah, you're getting some more of those features, but you're also paying for it. You can't ignore that this vehicle is about $8,000 more expensive as they sit here today.
It's interesting too that they both chose to do this kind of like, almost looks like they jammed an iPad into the dash.
Sure.
Toyota's done that, and then of course the Honda's done that, and I don't know, I'd like to see something a little bit more integrated.
Now, focusing in a little more on the hybrid system, first, we've got to talk fuel economy. And here in the Honda, we've been getting just slightly worse fuel economy than in the Toyota. I've been averaging 8.1 liters per 100 kilometers, which is an interesting difference considering that the Toyota has the slightly larger engine and slightly more horsepower. So you're actually getting more power out of the Toyota and seemingly better fuel economy. Not a huge difference, kind of negligible, but still that matters. But then when it comes to everything else with the drive, this is the same, Dad. It's so easy to drive. It's simple. It's dummy proof. Put it in snow mode and this thing will really take care of you. Visibility's good, comfort's good, so I don't think I would pick one over the other in terms of driving dynamics. They're both just, so easy. That's the best word I can stick on both of these vehicles.
Yeah, well, and somebody will probably take me to task, but these vehicles, these are the minivans of the new millennium.
It's true.
It just works in the same way that at one time everybody had to have a minivan, now they got to have one of these. So this is also is what's killing the sedan market.
Yeah, or has killed the sedan market.
Well, yeah, it's virtually disappeared, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, tell me about this infotainment system, because as you know, I've been trashing the one over in the Toyota. So how does this one compare?
It's been working well for me. I've been using Android Auto with it pretty consistently, but outside of that, simple to operate, easy. I like that you still have the couple of buttons over here, including the volume knob. Honda famously was the brand that got rid of the volume knob and then quickly brought it back. So I think now they've figured out the balance between, actual physical buttons and the touchscreen. So yeah, I don't really have any complaints with it. It's working well.
Does this nav system have a voice activation mode? Can you try to tell it where you're going?
Absolutely should.
All right, so see if it listens to you.
Enter address.
Searching for Superlicious.
Will it listen to you?
Would you like to start navigation?
No.
I don't want to go to Superlicious. All right, let's try and take 2 on that one. Okay, cancel.
It was pretty quick though. Okay, let's try now.
It was quick.
Find place.
Say a place.
McDonald's.
Searching for McDonald's. Select a line number.
Number 1.
McDonald's. Would you like to start navigation?
Yes. There you go. That's pretty
After
seamless.
1 kilometer, turn left.
That is so, that's what you expect, and that's what I can't seem to get in my Toyota right now.
One last thing I want to mention here in the CR-V is the regenerative braking, because you can actually control it. So there's paddle shifters here on my wheel. If I grab the minus shifter, that actually increases the regenerative braking, which is a little bit counterintuitive. But anyways, I crank it up, and then when I take my foot off the brake, yeah, it's not super aggressive, nowhere near like a one pedal drive, but it's more aggressive than if you don't have it on and the car was to just coast. And I do like that you get that control here in the Honda, because you don't have anything like that over in the Toyota. The regen braking just works with the brake pedal. And then we also have B mode, so if I bring my shifter all the way down, we go into B, and that just maximizes the regen at all times. So once again, if I'm driving along here and I lift my foot off, yeah, you can feel that back pressure. You can feel that the vehicle's being slowed down a little bit more aggressively. So yeah, I like that you can use the regen like that. Not just because you might want to maximize your regen, but you can just use it in everyday driving. So rather than having to use your brake pedal, use the regen to slow you down. And yeah, just one less thing you got to worry about with the actual brakes. So I like having that control over the braking here in the CR-V.
It's nice for the technically minded, and I truly wonder how many people will get it and never use it.
Sure, it's also something that you could just totally ignore, never use, and it's not going to change your driving experience.
Yeah. So Steve, I think one of the things that we can say is that both of these vehicles, they have more similarities than differences.
Sure.
They're answering a question, quite frankly, that families are asking. They want room, they want stability, they want traction, and they want something that'll get them through every one of the seasons that we have here in the Great White North.
Right.
However, at the end of this day, I would go with the same decision I made last year, the RAV4.
Fair, and yeah, I do think the RAV4 checks all those boxes. But for me, in my money, it would have to be this Honda CR-V. I like the fact that you're getting a little bit more space out of your back seat. I like that in the front it feels a little bit roomier. I like the hybrid system. And sure, the one we had today was a little more expensive, but I just like the interior better. So on this one, Dad, we're going to have to agree to disagree, which I think means we have to throw it out to you guys. Please now jump in the comments and let us know your thoughts. If you were laying down your money, are you taking the Toyota or are you taking the Honda? And as always, while you're down there leaving us that comment, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit join to become a member of our channel, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we're testing next.